We made it to the top 10, Jack McMullen. It is the top 10 prospects at justbaseball.com and the top 10 that we are going to run through here on the call up. Jack, this is the best 10.
I don't know. I think I like 31 through 40, a little bit more than 1 through 10. Is that fair?
It is kind of fair. I we need to just undermine this whole list. We made it to the top 10, and I'm very excited to go through these players. I mean, honestly, though, I was equally as excited to go through every span of 10 players. But when we get to the best
very
of the
political
best,
answer from you.
Yes, no, but really, like there's a lot more to be said on sometimes on the guys in the middle. But interestingly enough, I think there is a ton to talk about with these top 10 because it's either guys already playing at the big league level that are maybe off to a bit of a slower start or maybe not, maybe starting to heat up. And then guys that are knocking on the door. Proximity is big here with the top 10. I'd say almost every single player should play or already has played in 2020, except for maybe 2 guys on here. So it should be interesting getting into that and also just getting into some of the slow starts because I would say Anthony Volpe, who we're going to start with because he's our number 10 prospect, his slow start is very shocking given that, he is still in the minor leagues and it was expected that he'd make a pretty smooth transition to Double-A given how dominant he was last year. But when we look at the Torkelsons and, the Bobby Witt Juniors of the world, naturally, we knew there was a good chance that they could have some ups and downs at the big league level. So it's a little bit different, a little bit of different situations here, but it's going to be fun breaking down each of these 10.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys are close to graduating from the top 100 prospects. So the guys that, are still in minor league baseball or have injuries hampering their 2022 season so far at the big league level, these are the guys that could make that jump to 1, 2, 3 overall prospects. I mean, we're going to talk about, I think the guy that's going to be the number 1 overall prospect in the midseason update in this list. And, you've got some guys that are knocking on the door and you think, oh, if only they got a shot at the big league level. But you're right. A lot of these guys, the Bobby Witts, the Julio Rodriguez, Spencer Torkelsons of the world. I mean, they're up. They're getting every shot imaginable to be a contributor. And they're just not necessarily doing it yet. So we can unpack that if we want.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a little bit more simple, right? Like we're just talking about guys getting acclimated to the highest level of baseball in the world. Whereas Anthony Volpe, who we're going to start with, has been, as I mentioned, a little bit surprising of a slow starter. I'm not that alarmed. I talked about it on the Just Baseball show. I'm really not that worried about Volpe's slow start, but it is something worth monitoring. He is hitting just 176, 304, 363 through his first 25 games at the Double-A level. He is walking 13% of the time, striking out 26% of the time. He's homered 4 times. He's swiped 10 bags. But I mean, just to remind people how good this guy was last year and really why he was one of the biggest risers in all of the prospect world. I mean, this guy hit 27 home runs last year. He stole 33 bases. He didn't strike out much. He hit for average. He got on base a ton. I mean, this was one of the best players in the minor leagues last year. And the acclimation to Double-A has been a little bit difficult. Worth noting, he turned 21 exactly 2 weeks ago. So very young for the level, and also entered last season with only 34 games played at the rookie level. Very new to professional baseball. So this is really only his second professional season, and it's been a little bit of a learning curve.
Here's the thing. Anthony Volpe played in 109 games in 2021. He had 68 extra base hits. He had 35 doubles. He had 27 jacks, like you mentioned, and he had 6 triples between low A and high A. Tampa, it's not like, you're out in Arizona. Like low A for West Coast teams, that ball flies. In Florida, that ball kind of dies a little bit. I mean, it is humid as shit. And the numbers that this guy was putting up and the distance that he was getting on his batted balls was, I mean, like that does not happen in Florida for a guy that's 5'11", $180 at the moment right now. He might be getting a little bit bigger at the moment, but I mean, this was a guy that was taken out of high school in the Northeast. Granted, it's the Del Barton School in New Jersey. Del Barton is a place that produces a ton of pro talent. Jack Leiter was his teammate in high school at Del Barton, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, correct.
So, you're looking at guys that have a teensy bit of pedigree, but at the end of the day, they're playing high school baseball in New Jersey. What are you going to get from them? They never played year round. And then all of a sudden, 2019, he plays 34 games in the Appy League. After that, COVID shut it down. 2021 was really the first true look we got at a 2019 high school draftee. And this guy was incredible. So you got to place a lot of stock in that.
100%. And again, I'm not really going to sound the alarms here. And what Volpe was really able to do was lift the ball really easily. And he was one of the best in baseball in minors and the majors in terms of being able to lift the ball and generate that backspin and tap into what is now viewed as plus game power, which is crazy because he's one of the few guys where if you look at it, I mean, I believe Fangraphs has 55 raw power, 60 game power. How often do you see more game power than raw power? It's a testament to just how well Volpe is able to lift the ball. And that was something that was organizational through the entire Yankees farm system was, working on tapping into and squeezing out all of the power that these guys have. He has a wonderful feel to hit, but it was just being able to tap into it and be able to lift the ball out of the yard because he was not somebody that was getting the ball in the air that much in the early going of his career, now doing that. But so far this season, it's been a little bit more pull happiness. It's been a little bit more of him just being aggressive. It seems like he's trying to do a bit too much. And it's funny because to your point, in the Florida State League, which is now not really the Florida State League it once was, but in those stadiums, it was always known as a place where power goes to die, where the ball doesn't carry, where it's impossible to put up good numbers. I mean, everyone would take Florida State League offensive numbers and like almost give it a curve. Like if you got a 70 in your class, it was really an 80. Like that's what Florida State League stats were. And Volpe made a joke out of most of the same stadiums.
Well, and that's why Jason Dominguez is struggling as much as he is, right?
Yes, that's the only reason.
It's just park factor. That's the only reason.
It's just the park factor there. Yeah, Jupiter's tough. I know he's been playing there. That's where I saw him. And Jupiter makes you swing and miss a little bit, I guess, right?
But yeah, I mean, Volpe, like you say that he's struggling, and yeah, you can see it, $176. The reason why I am truly slamming the panic button through 25 games, the guy has an OPS of 666. And we know the religious background of 666. So that's kind of scary. But the reason that I'm not slamming the panic button, 25 games, let's just look at some of the counting numbers here. He's only punched out 29 times. So the swing and miss is there. It's more there.
But that's your slump.
Yeah, that's your slump. Guys walked 15 times in 25 games. He's 10 for 11 in swiped bags. And he's got, 8 extra base hits in 25 games, and he's driven in 16. Yeah. I'm not too concerned about this guy because he's still putting up good numbers. Guys are obviously trying to pitch around him or nibble because they know that he is the marquee dude in that Somerset Patriots lineup at the AA level.
100%. And it's funny because I always look at players like this, and honestly, situation, this is the pitching equivalent would be this, right? Everyone always says, oh, the true sign of an ace is when a pitcher doesn't have his best stuff, but still gets outs and can give you value and give you a good start. I think the sign of a good 5-tool, because that's what the hope is with Anthony Volpe, a 5-tool player, is that when he's not hitting, he's still giving you value. And we don't get F-WAR in the minor leagues, but he would be a positive F-WAR guy right now, even through this slump, right? He's still getting on base in a slump at a 300 clip, 304. Like you said, he still stole 10 bags. He still hit 4 home runs. He's still presumably playing good defense. I haven't seen that much of that. But you're still able to impact the game when you're not hitting the way you're used to hitting. That's extremely valuable. And I will say, the last thing I'll say on Volpe is, this is a huge jump to AA. High A to AA, I personally think, is the biggest jump. And these are much more experienced pitchers with better stuff. And as you mentioned, who's the guy that they're game planning for? It's the guy that's one of the best prospects in the minor leagues, who is also one of the youngest hitters in the AA level at 21 years old. So I think he just needs to feel it out, get acclimated to what is a much better pitching crop that you're facing at the AA level with much better command. He's a little bit aggressive at the plate right now, which is crazy because he's still walking. But I think he's going to be just fine. And ultimately the ceiling for this guy is franchise cornerstone shortstop. And I don't think anybody is worried about that ceiling not being attainable for him after a slow 25 game start.
Yeah. Offensive profile. If you had to comp best case scenario, is it Dustin Pedroia?
Dustin Pedroia. I guess. Like, I don't even know what Volpe, because Volpe has more power. Like, this guy's going to hit 30 plus in Yankee Stadium with the lift that he's able to generate. So who is that? Shortstop with good speed that can hit you 30 plus.
But not Tatis.
No, because and here's the thing is, like, it's not going to be 490-foot home runs like some of these other big power guys. But the thing is Volpe just hits home runs and they all count the same. He's going to hit them 380, 410, whatever it is. They're not going to be tape measure shots, but they're going to be legitimate home runs that all count the same.
So Pedroia, as a 24-year-old, when he won his MVP right after his Rookie of the Year season, he had 213 hits. You can see Volpe doing that, putting together 200 hit seasons, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So he hit 326. He had 54 doubles that led Major League Baseball. Volpe is the type of guy, we mentioned 35 doubles last year in 109 games. This guy can lead Major League Baseball in doubles if everything goes right. 17 homers, 83 driven in, 20 backs.
What do we think of Bo Bichette with better on base skills
and better defense? Bo Bichette is actually, I was just looking at outs above average. Bo Bichette's one of the worst defensive.
Oh, he's horrible defensively. Horrible defensively. No, Volpe's good. I mean, the arm's fringy, but like, he moves really well. He gets behind the ball. He puts himself in positions where the arm doesn't really matter too much. And we know that shortstops with fringy arms in range with the Yankees. I don't have a Jeter joke to go right there. I don't have much line, but Volpe's better defensively than I think a lot of people would have expected. He's above average there and he'll be just fine. But listen, I kind of like the Bichette profile with more on base skills.
Yeah, if Bo Bichette is the poor man's Anthony Volpe in 5 years, I'm in.
That's the hope, I think, man. That's the hope. And I mean, Bichette last year was 298, 343, 484, 29 homers, 25 stolen bases. The only problem was he only walked at a 5.8% clip. And I think that's something that Volpe will always be better at. He's always going to walk at a pretty solid clip. So, I mean, the way we're talking about this guy, I think the common theme through this episode is going to be, can this guy be baseball's next number one prospect? The answer on Volpe is absolutely. He could be in the running. If he could, light the world on fire for the remainder of the season, which I think we're probably expecting him to do. And he could easily make a case for top overall prospect. I've talked to Jeff Ponce of Baseball America. He's been a guest on the podcast, and he that's one of his picks, if not his pick alone by the end of the year to be the number one prospect in baseball is Anthony Volpe.
I've got another pick that we're going to get to shortly.
Yes, we are going to get to another one shortly. But before that, and he actually plays the same position as Gabriel Moreno, but we're going to go to Gabriel Moreno first. Somebody that, man, I feel like I've been talking about this guy for like 8 years now. So I am really excited to see Moreno getting closer and closer to that big league debut. Alejandro Kirk's been swinging it pretty well at the big league level. They'll have to figure out how that's all going to shake out. But as far as we're concerned, we're just looking at Gabriel Moreno, the prospect, and he's a damn good prospect. He's 22 years old, insane bat to ball skills, good defense behind the dish that continues to get better and better. Probably one of the most athletic catchers in the minor leagues, period. I mean, what he did last year prior to injury was absolutely phenomenal, Jack. I mean, 32 games at the AA level as a 21-year-old and a young 21-year-old. And he hit 373, 441, 651 with 8 homers, 10% walk rate, 15% K rate. That's only a 192 WRC plus. And then he messed up his thumb. And that really claimed a majority of his season. Then he goes to the Arizona Fall League and does more of the same and just absolutely mashes. Bit of a slow start to the year and now is already heating up, hitting 311. But what's interesting is we're not seeing the power so far at the AAA level. He has a 378 on base, 378 slugging so far.
Yeah, I mean, give me more RBIs than strikeouts, though. Through 20 games, this guy has 16 ribbies and 15 punch-outs. So, yeah, the ball's not leaving the yard for him at the moment. We know that Buffalo is conducive to the ball leaving the yard. We saw it with the Blue Jays last year when they had to play there due to COVID issues. But, I mean, listen, I'm not concerned about this guy's power. No. What I've been so impressed by with Gabriel Moreno in the early goings, because he's in the International League with me, so I, see what he's doing and I see all the highlights and all that stuff. This guy has an amazing arm. He's an amazing defensive catcher. And I knew he was good. I didn't realize that he was amazing. But I do think that he can be an amazing defensive catcher. And Toronto doesn't have that at the moment.
No. Alejandro Kirk is probably not amazing defensively. And
I
Zach
think he's going to be a great DH.
Yeah, he's fun to watch, though. I like him. But no, you look at Gabriel Moreno, man. I mean, this was somebody that going back to when he was not even a top 15 prospect in the Blue Jay system. I mean, this is a dude that was signed in international free agency for nothing. He was not a valuable. That's actually wrong on Just Baseball's top 100. We got to update that. He was not signed for much at all. And Moreno is just an under the radar guy that is just mashed, and has really earned himself now a really highly regarded ranking across the board. He's a top guy, no matter who you ask. And I believe it was less than 100,000 that he signed for. Did you look it up?
Yeah, it was 25 grand.
Yeah, 25 grand. So we have 2.6 million on we got to update that. I don't know who that was for. It's 25 grand. So, I mean, he was signed for pennies. And again, testament to just how he could fly under the radar, the bat to ball. No one really knew what the power would look like, but now we're seeing the power, not yet this year, but we saw the power last year tick up. Again, 8 home runs in 32 games. He'll get back there. And I'm not worried about it because the exit velos have been strong. The hit tool is plus. He's going to be just fine in that department. He just needs to get the ball in the air a little bit more. Right now, the ground ball rate's a little bit high, but he's still hitting the ball really darn hard against AAA pitching. And as far as I'm concerned, probably one of the best catcher hit tools we've seen in a very long time. And I'd put him up there offensively with anybody, not named Adley Rutschman. But even then, I mean, very different profiles, but Moreno could be right there in terms of WRC plus and just overall offensive production.
This is a new era of catcher, man. We're going to talk about two guys, him and Adley, that, are catchers that can hit well above 300. A 70 hit tool, future value on Gabriel Moreno. Like that's the type of guy that he can be. He can contend for a batting title and be a really good defensive catcher.
Which is insanity. That's one of the best catchers in baseball. And what's amazing to me is just how simple the swing is, how geared he is to contact, but still able to impact pretty well, and still just 22 years old, man. I'm a big fan of Moreno, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do at the big league level. I think he's going to be really special for a long time. And trust me, if the Blue Jays didn't plan on building around this guy, or at least not building around him because they have their core, but not having him be a part of their future, he'd be gone already. Because I know for a fact that, and I've heard from a lot of people within the game, that he is one of the most called about names, because everyone knows the Jays are trying to win now. And they want Moreno. If you want our star player, we'll trade him to you, but you better give us Gabriel Moreno. And the Blue Jays, that's a non-starter. And that's for a team that is, was willing to trade Austin Martin, was willing to trade Simeon Woods Richardson. Gabriel Moreno's in his own ballpark, and he's untouchable for the Blue Jays, and for good reason.
Yeah, I want to see him come up this year. I do. And I think he's going to force his hand at some point in June or July. I think right now they feel fine with the catching tandem or catching trio that they have up at the big league level. I think Kirk is catching too many games. I think Kirk's bat should be in the lineup, but to be totally honest, I think he's catching too many games. So I think as soon as they feel like Gabriel Moreno is their best catching option at the big league level, which if he continues to hit 311, should be in June or July, I think he's the guy. And I think you could see a 22-year-old Gabriel Moreno playing in the ALCS.
Absolutely. And I don't think he'll blank. Like, I think he's one of those guys that has no idea where he is in the best way possible and just hits. He just comes off as that kind of guy.
You're not saying that like he's an idiot. You're saying that like he's unfazed.
No, that's what Jeff Conine always says on Outside the Box with Miguel Cabrera, because that's a guy that came up at 20 years old in 2003. And Jeff always goes, Miguel Cabrera had no idea he was in the World Series against the New York Yankees in front of 80. Like he just played baseball. Like it just was not, you could tell the moment didn't really hit him. Moreno seems like a guy that just simplifies things. And as soon as he's getting the ball in the air and showing that he's hitting for a little bit of power again, I think he'll be up there, and it could be as soon as midseason. It could ultimately be an injury that spurs that too. As we know, those are unfortunately inevitable in a 162 game marathon, especially at the catching position. Speaking of injuries though, our next prospect's a guy that would have graduated by now, but has not because of some, what was it? Like a bone spur, like fragments in his elbow. Shane Baz,
like loose bodies in his elbow.
Loose bodies. And again, actually speaking to Jeff Conine, he showed me a picture of some of the loose bodies they took out of his elbow that he has to have done every once in a while. It was horrible. It was disgusting.
Gross.
But he said it wasn't bad. Like, it didn't hurt. It was a quick recovery. It was not a big deal. And he got back and he was back to, doing him. Shane Baz is going to be fine. He'll be back. I know they want to be extremely careful, but the loose bodies and stuff, it's more of just a cleanup. It's wear and tear on your arm, but that's not like structural damage. We're not doctors, but we can attest to the fact that it's not very concerning in the grand scheme of things, because you just hear elbow, you hear surgery or whatever, and you're like, oh, shoot. And loose bodies sounds horrible, but it's really just like little fragments of bone or cartilage or whatever that kind of just kick loose in the elbow.
Yeah, so I think some guys used to call it elbow chips. Like just chips that kind of bounce around in there. Like I remember JJ Putz talking about it. I think he had some elbow chips taken out. And like loose bodies, you're right. It sounds vicious and it sounds gross and it sounds like they could just like poke through anything. But the whole point of that is, you put your UCL at such high stress at all times. You don't want anything getting in the way of that and possibly like, touching a tight tendon and then just ripping it through. So it's arthroscopic surgery. And 3 days ago, I just saw CBS said that that live BP is next for Shane Baz. So he should be back very soon.
That's basically like right there,
Yeah.
So he's unbelievable, right? I mean, and the conversation was before, Baz or G-Rod. And I always erred on the side of G-Rod, which we'll get to, and I'll make that whole case soon, but I had nothing to do with a limitation of Shane Baz.
No, you're saying you don't like Shane Baz?
Yeah. No, I don't like him. I don't like him at all. We have him in number 8, but that's more just obligatory. The guy's 22 years old. He's so good. And what's amazing is this was and we can, I'm really sorry, Pirates fans, but this was a guy that was the throw-in in a deal for Tyler Glasnow or with Tyler Glasnow for Chris Archer. So, I mean, we saw Meadows out. Now Glasnow's on the shelf, and Baz can end up being the best piece of this whole deal. What's amazing to me is Baz was a guy that always had command issues, and it was somewhat of the inconsistent mechanics, and it just could not quite get things synced up on the mound. Then the Rays work with him, and I know like he really put the work in himself, and he simplified things, Jack. The mechanics are so smooth, so simple, and it's some of the most effortless high velo you're going to see. And again, like the simplified mechanics, it looks like he's almost lulling himself to sleep in his motion, has not compromised the quality of stuff whatsoever.
No. And we've talked about it. Like it's, you could be frustrated because you say, oh my God, this is so low effort and so slow. And he's still throwing 99. If he went full steam ahead, he'd be throwing 115 miles an hour. But that's not the case. I think Tampa knows how to get the most out of their guys and simplify things to their purest form. I think that starts at the top with Kyle Snyder as their pitching coach. I think that guy is insanely good at his job. If I had to handpick a pitching coach, if I was moving forward with an organization, it's that guy because I think he gets the most out of it, and it trickles down to the minor league affiliates. So Tampa knows what they're doing with pitchers, and they knew how to transform Shane Baz. And, we can talk about the stuff all day long. The thing that needed to change for Baz was command.
Yep.
Right. It was always command. 2018, this guy was walking 5 guys per 9 innings. 2019, this guy was walking 4 guys per 9 innings. In the fall league, he was walking 6.5 per 9. And then 2021 rolls around after 2020, and this guy walked 1.5 guys per 9 innings. So he totally transformed the way that he attacks the strike zone. And in 3 starts with Tampa, 13 1/3, 18 punch outs, 3 walks. Command is here to stay.
100%. And he was one of the best in all of minor league baseball at strikeout to walk ratio, which just shows you like this guy had it in him. He just had to find it. And it's almost frustrating watching him pitch, as you mentioned, because he literally looks like he's playing catch. He's just like, it almost just looks effortless, and it's just boom, 96. Well,
and it also looks like lights are on, no one's home, because he's got, a double decker, a dip in, and it looks like he's going to throw up when he's on the mound, and yet he's still dotting 99.
And that's what was amazing. So, I mean, last year between the big league level and the minor leagues, he was pretty much sitting 96 to 99, which again is just stupid. The stuff is crazy though too, right? The slider is disgusting. We saw it perform at the big league level. We saw it dominate hitters at the minor league level. Really for him, the question was, can he go deeper into starts? How is that going to look? I don't really have any questions in regards to anything at this point with Shane Baz. And people could say health, but like that's the question with every single pitcher who walks the earth, because throwing is so abnormal. But the fastball has a ton of riding life to it, almost 19 inches of vertical break, which is really, really insane. The slider is sharp, tons of bite to it, and has a little bit of that gyro downward break. And then he mixes in a really solid changeup and a curveball as well. So he can give you a lot of different looks. And again, when he's commanding that fastball with that riding life, it sets up everything else really well. He is that tunneler. And we talk about tunneling, how every pitch looks the same out of your hand until it's about 28 feet away. He is a guy that excels with that, and that's why he's so difficult to hit. I'd probably put the changeup as his third best pitch.
Yeah.
I gotta see what we have grade wise. Yes, we had the changeup ahead of the curveball, and I do believe that that's what it is. But I love a guy that has a fourth pitch curveball that he just mixes in 5 times a game to steal some strikes. It's just another ode to the pitchability that a guy has, and Shane Baz has really developed a nice pitchability.
And that's what Carlos Rodon has done in taking the next step, right? He uses that curveball as a taste breaker 5-6 times in outing. And now here we are talking about Shane Baz in that way. And we're as high on Baz as really any other publication. Baseball America has him at 8, just like us. Prospectus has him at 8, just like us. Pipeline has him at 12, which is kind of weird. But yeah. I think the reason that we have him as the number 2 pitcher in the top 100 is just because we think the other guy's ceiling is a little bit higher.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, Fangraphs has him at 11 with still a long relief risk or something like that.
No.
That's what he's labeled as.
No.
Potential long reliever. So, yeah, just respectfully disagree there. Next up is a guy that really, I think, is off to a slow start. Obviously, that's not, I know. Spencer Torkelson's off to a slow start, but it doesn't look like he's that lost up there. I don't know. You've probably watched more of his ABs than me. I look at Torkelson. I don't see a guy that's totally lost, but then you look at the stats and you're like, shoot, this guy's not doing great. And you look at the strikeout rate, not great. He's hitting 149, 267, 264, which is nuts because, again, I watch him in his ABs and he looks okay. It doesn't look that bad from him. What are your thoughts on Torkelson thus far? Former number 1 overall pick, mashed his way through every single level last year, and now still feeling it out at the big league level.
I'm going to die on this hill. I just pulled up my Apple weather and I saw that it's 74 degrees in Detroit at the moment. So I think this is when he heats up. I'm serious. I'm going to die on this hill. I think Spencer Torkelson is a guy from Spencer Torkelson is a guy from Petaluma, California, Northern California, where it's beautiful all the time. It's not 80 like Southern California. It's 72 and breezy in Northern California. Best area of America there. But that's just my personal preference. This guy went to Arizona State. Tempe, Arizona is in the middle of the freaking desert. It's hot as hell there. This guy has never had to deal with cold weather. I saw him play in 40-degree temps. He looked like shit. I saw him play in 80-degree temps. He looked like Barry Bonds. I think this guy, like, he is going to be a summertime smasher. That's what Spencer Torkelson is. So as soon as the weather warms up, I think 149 turns into 220. But I don't think I think he's gotten off to a terrible start. I think that the stats at the end of his rookie season will suffer because of this terrible start. And the next step for Spencer Torkelson is he's got to figure out how to hit when it's not perfect temp outside. He's got to figure out when the stars are not aligned for him to succeed, because the Detroit Tigers plan on playing in November in the next 6 years.
Yeah.
And Spencer Torkelson will be a Detroit Tiger for the next 6 years.
And it's either the weather thing or he's just somebody that really takes some time to get acclimated. And that just doesn't seem right for someone who has such a simple swing, who really has easy power. There's not a lot of moving parts. It's one of the more easily aesthetically pleasing swings that you don't have to poke very many holes in. And for whatever reason, he's striking out 33% of the time.
Well, and think about this, like anecdotally, his numbers at Arizona State did not scream he needs to get acclimated. I mean, his first 12 games of college baseball, or first 25 games of college baseball, he hit 12 bombs. Like this is a guy that hit the ground running. I don't think it's an acclimation thing. I seriously think he needs it to be perfect. And I saw him on the Cape, Cape is beautiful every single night. You know that. I mean, nobody has to wear a hoodie on the Cape. And this guy mashed. I think he is honestly a summertime guy. He is a baseball season guy. And when Spencer Torkelson hits free agency, minus 10 million that he goes somewhere south and warm.
Miami.
Yeah.
Bring him to Miami. No,
Future Marlin, Spencer Torkelson.
No, but I mean, this guy, I mean, getting into his ability, a rare plus hit tool. But you know, that's the thing is he's viewed as a plus hit tool guy. We have him as a plus hit tool guy. But is there any reason to have is he closer to a 50 hit tool guy than a 60 hit tool guy at this point?
I don't know. What do you think the power is? Because 28 games, 3 bombs.
Yeah, I mean, that's not great, but I still think he's a plus raw power guy. I mean, I think that's almost undeniable. 70 power. Yeah, I mean, it's undeniable in my opinion with the way he's able to hit the ball out, foul pole to foul pole, tape measure shots. He hits balls that get out. What's weird for me with Torkelson is not chasing really at all. I mean, if you look at percentile and chase rate on Savant this year, and he's never been a guy that chases, 87th percentile. What concerns me about Torque and makes me think, maybe we were a little aggressive on a 60, maybe he's closer to a 55, is that the zone swing and miss has always kind of been there. And again, zone swing and miss is not a kiss of death. No. If it's egregious or it's complemented by chasing, then you got a problem. But if you don't chase, you have some zone swing and miss, but you pick your spots and you have unreal quality of contact, you're going to be just fine. That's what we're going to get to Bobby Witt, same thing. And that's why I said Bobby Witt was going to struggle at the big league level in the early going. That's why I thought Torkelson might struggle a little bit at the big league level in the early going. I don't think he's going to be a guy that hits 300. So I mean, probably closer to a 55 hit tool potentially. But then here's the thing. He could come out and end up just mashing like he did last year. And we'll be like, oh, I guess this guy sneakily is a plus hit tool guy. But I mean, so far this season, he's still walking 12% of the time. He walks a ton. I mean, what do you think?
I just pulled up his monthly splits in minor league ball last year. I mean, again, I'm going to die on this hill. And I'm sorry for the hard hitting analysis here with the weather, but in May last year, this is his first year of pro ball. This guy had a 776 OPS. After that, 1,400 OPS in June across 2 levels. That turned into a 13 after he got the promotion. In July, he had a 900 OPS. In August, he had a 950 OPS. In September, he had a 900 OPS, maybe closer to 1,000. So this guy had a shitty May. Let's see how he is in June, to be totally honest.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's going to start heating up, not too worried about it. And just speaking more towards his ability and what he did last year. I mean, this is somebody that's going to be able to get on base at a ridiculous clip. That's not going to chase. He's going to take what's given to him. Again, he'll strike out in the low 20s probably throughout his career percent wise, but more than palatable when you're doing what Spencer Torkelson is doing at the plate. And also sneaky fast. He's running pretty well. He's showing some athleticism. I think he's going to be a good defensive first baseman as he continues to mature out there. I don't think he'll be able to play third as they wanted to experiment with, but I think first base is kind of the spot for him long term. Maybe could squeeze him in a corner outfield spot, but I'm interested to see what you think about that.
But I know you watched him get some defensive reps at third. I know you watched him play a couple of games at third last year in minor league ball. He looked fine over at third base. He's not a third baseman at the big league level, but you speak to that athleticism that he has. He can run well. He's got a good glove. I think he's going to be a slightly above average defensive first baseman. Yeah, I think he could play left.
I think so too.
Matt Olson can technically play right. He can play a corner outfield spot. So I think that's what Torkelson is. I think, Matt Olson won a Gold Glove and he is serviceable out in a corner outfield spot. I think that's what Torkelson can do.
Absolutely. And a guy that really gets the edge over Torkelson in the same system because of what he brings on that side of the ball and just what he brings and the complementary tool set and skill set wise is Riley Greene. And this is somebody that I really am excited to see what he's going to do. And he's on the mend already. He's already getting closer and closer to getting back to the big leagues. I think he's going to spend some more time in the minor leagues before fully coming back on those rehab assignments, get going a little bit. Then I'm sure we'll get the nod at the big league level. But I mean, Riley Greene has all of the upside offensively. I think that Torkelson has maybe slightly less power potential, but a better feel to hit, more athletic, and can play, either plus defense in a corner or passable defense in center if you really need it. That's insane given the offensive profile that Riley Greene has. And I thought he was phenomenal in spring training this year, really got us excited, and then unfortunately went down with that injury.
Riley Greene in 11 games had 3 doubles, 2 triples, 2 bombs. That's a 429 clip and a slugging percentage north of 1,000. So this guy was amazing, and he looked like he was going to be the everyday center fielder, and then he went down. Apparently, because Indy hosts Toledo next week, I'm hoping to see Riley Greene with the Toledo Mud Hens next week in Indy. He just shed the walking boot. I don't think he's running yet. But he's very close to running, and hopefully I see him at the end of the week next week in Toledo. But, I mean, this guy is a 20-year-old between double and triple A last year. Hit 300 with 24 homers and 16 stolen bases. He's just a better all-around baseball player than Spencer Torkelson.
Yeah, he just can do more, right? And I think that's what's really impressive is the stolen base ability on top of what is really exciting power potential, athleticism that you can see in the box. I mean, the way he really gets into his lower half, the way he explodes on the baseball, he goes foul pole to foul pole. I mean, he can stay inside the ball and send it the other way, and it just carries and carries. He can go dead center, and when he goes pole side, man, it's some mammoth 110 plus mile per hour, towering 450-foot shots. He's capable of that. He's still 21. And that's what I love to talk about with Riley Greene is everyone's saying, okay, I think Torkelson, it's interesting to see. I know we were one of the earliest to have Greene ahead of Torkelson, but I think now we're seeing more publications go Greene over Tork. I'm not sure. I've seen a couple others at least, but honestly, I've not kept tabs on that. But I think what really separates Greene, and my argument for Greene, is that we saw what Tork did at ASU, Arizona State, to break that freshman home run record of Barry Bonds, to do all those things that were really impressive. Riley Greene is technically still college age, or at least was last year, right? And what Riley Greene did to Double-A pitching, imagine if he was in college in the Pac-12. He might have put up the best offensive season in college history, or at least rivaling the BESR days with Buster Posey and JD Drew. We're talking about a guy at 20 years old who demolished double and triple A pitching to the tune of 24 home runs, like you said, and a 150 WRC plus. I mean, absolutely phenomenal.
Okay, now granted, it's skewed because this guy has been in professional baseball now for 3 years. So professional baseball, you don't have to worry about classes, and you don't have to worry about not being able to practice more than 10 times in the fall or something like that. So this guy could work with the Tigers all the time. So it's not apples to apples, but it's apples to another fruit.
Yeah, because the larger point is though, it's like Riley Greene was doing that, like what a lot of at college age, doing what a lot of people are doing, to double and triple A pitching.
Exactly. And just the holistic approach at the plate, and defensively, he's very, very good. He's gonna be a great center fielder. I think if you were to tell me, describe a ball player, give me the stat line of just the best ball player you can think of, it looks a lot like him.
Yeah.
Hitting 300, hitting 25 bombs, swiping 15 to 20 bags, playing a great defensive center field. That's just a ball player. That's somebody that's going to show up and do this.
So we think great defensive center field. I've seen him in the corners a ton, and I know he can be great in the corners. I think he can be passable in center. I don't have a strong opinion. So that's why I'm asking you, because I honestly haven't seen too much of the reads and routes in center. Beyond what I've seen, it looks good. I have to see more to give like that great designation, just because, again, I haven't seen enough of him in center. But I definitely think he's capable out there, to say the least.
I just think he's going to look natural anywhere he goes.
I agree. I agree with that. I trust his baseball instincts big time too. And that's something that really stands out with him. You want to know something else nuts, Jack? He was a reverse splits guy last year, which I'm cool with. I'm cool with that. 1,039 OPS against lefties.
Wow.
874 OPS against righties. I imagine 21 years old, 20 years old for majority of the year, those righty hammers are a little bit more devastating when you're getting acclimated to breaking balls, whereas, it's more sweepers generally from lefties, although, we don't know what we're going to see nowadays. You'll see lefties throwing 101. But for the most part, it's more sharper stuff from righties, more finesse from lefties. But the harder part left on left is keeping that front side on, staying on the ball. And that's what Greene is so good at is, again, that lower half is always under control. He is always using the entirety of his body and that athleticism in the swing. Yes, the K rate's a little bit high, but it normalized at 20. Like it was 27 all year. It was never getting, way up there. He never went through these crazy strikeout spells. And I think that's something that's going to continue to tick down as he matures, because as we can continue to reiterate, he is still very 21 years old.
Yeah, very much so. 21 years old. He turns 22 on September 28th. Is that right?
Yes.
September 28th. He's a 2000 baby. We're talking about a 2000 baby here.
Which is crazy. Same birthday as my late father. So I didn't know that. So Riley Greene's got some magic going for him too. That might add a few brownie points for me. We might have to bump him up the rankings a little bit.
Absolutely. And just one more thing on Riley Greene, the reverse splits, 1,000 OPS against lefties. Are you saying I have to get the popcorn ready for Riley Greene versus Dallas Keuchel this summer?
Oh, I'm betting on Riley Greene in that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. I'll put my mortgage on Riley Greene.
Kid Coochie carved up the Red Sox the other day.
Kid Keuchel. Say it right. Kid Keuchel. That is the dumbest social media handle I've ever heard. Can I get that on recording?
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that. I like him though. I do like Dallas Keuchel. He's dope.
So he is married to Kelly Nash. Is that right?
Oh, the MLB Network personality?
Yep.
Or host?
Yep.
Very cool. Good for him.
Yep. Shout out Kid Keuchel.
What a brutal name. Coming in at number 5, one of my favorite names, and I think I'm going to say that through the rest of the way here, but Francisco Alvarez, New York Mets. I mean, come on. This guy is a joke. And it was crazy because with Alvarez, when we put him at 5 last year, it was like, whoa. I had a lot of people reach out to me that cover the Mets, and I got invited on some podcasts to talk about it because people were so like, hey, I like seeing you being more aggressive on Francisco Alvarez. Once we put this list out, 0 Mets podcasts reached out to me, other than Ryan Finkelstein, our managing editor who hosts Locked On Mets, because it wasn't surprising anymore to see Alvarez again at 5. But when we did it last year, people were like, whoa, is this guy really like that? Yes, he's like that. Now everybody's seeing it. And it's unbelievable. We've seen him put up 110s, 112s in terms of exit velos. He is insanely powerful at the box. And he's only 20 years old. What's really impressed me though, Jack, is I kept waiting. Okay, Francisco Alvarez is going to slow down a little bit at the plate here, right? Like, oh, the level is going to catch up to him. He's going to get exposed a little bit. It's really just not happening. And even though the numbers are a little bit shaky in the batting average department for a 20-year-old in Double-A, and again, he just turned 20, prior to the season, I'll take what we've seen from Alvarez, even though he has slowed down as of the last couple of weeks.
I'm taking what we're seeing from Francisco Alvarez. 209, 314 OBP. So people are pitching around a 20-year-old in Double-A. Correct. He's 4 years younger than the average hitter in Double-A. So something to note there. And people are already pitching around him. And I mean, in 23 games, he's got 15 ribbies. He's got 10 extra base hits. Yeah. What this dude does with that frame, he's listed at the moment at what? 5'10", 230, 5'10", 235. This guy's a bowling ball that has quick twitch muscle fibers. I've never seen a bowling ball with quick twitch muscle fibers.
No. And it was funny. He looks like when we saw him at the Futures game, Peter Apple was talking about this, like how he looks like he has like pads under his jersey because he's just so like strong and physical and built, and you just see it in the box. And what I like about Francisco Alvarez's setup is it's pretty simple. Really, all he does is get into that backside, almost similar to like a Nelson Cruz type, where he starts upright and then just loads into his backside. He uses this little like toe mechanism to keep his weight back and then unleashes. You talk about the quick twitch fibers. Like he has some of the most explosive rotational, and that's a testament to how insanely strong his lower half is, but some of the most explosive rotational and lower half strength in his swing. And that's why you see him just unload on baseballs to his pull side, but he can also go the other way. He can let the ball travel, and he's getting more adept to that and getting better at that. But when he goes pull side, I mean, look out. Your fans, even in the first couple rows of the outfield and left, are in danger at times.
Yeah. Can we also give him a bump because that build speaks to durability? He's going to be incredibly durable for his entire future because anybody that's built like that is going to be able to muscle through a lot of things. He is as physically gifted and as physically unique as anybody on this top 100 list. And he just happens to be one of the best power bats on this list.
And don't forget that he can catch too. I mean, this guy, the tools are very evident there. He's getting more polished with just receiving and, all of those fundamental things that we talk about with catchers, but great arm, moves really well behind the dish, blocks really well, and he's going to continue to get better and better defensively. So above average defender with a chance to be the best offensive catcher in baseball. Really, it's going to be him or Adley for best offensive catcher in baseball, I guess, with Will Smith as well, right? Like who
Moreno.
And Moreno, right? So it's 3 prospects and Will Smith
yeah,
for best offensive catcher in baseball.
Yeah.
Are we missing somebody? You want to count Dalton Varsho, who plays center?
I think I'm good.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the point here. So we're talking about plus raw power, above average field to hit that I think could give him an above average hit tool down the line, above average defense, and just all around one of the more exciting catching prospects and prospects period in baseball. This is the guy you're looking at who could be number 1, you think, on our next update? I
do think he can be number 1. It depends what the guys in front of him do in terms of promotions. But yeah, I think Alvarez can be the guy. I'm thinking if anybody is having this insane year, that's the thing. The guys that are still going to be eligible within the top 10 are not having good years. And you even look just outside, like O'Neal Cruz is still going to be eligible. But I mean, he's not having a good year. He's hitting sub 200. Volpe is, not hitting much better than Alvarez at the moment. I think the leader in the clubhouse for the midseason update at this point, if Grayson Rodriguez stays down or if Grayson Rodriguez gets up and graduates, is Francisco Alvarez.
I'm with you if this guy that we're about to talk about graduates, and I presume he will because he's carving up AAA batters already through 6 starts. Grayson Rodriguez is my number 1 pitching prospect in baseball. He has been for a while, and I stand by it. And again, one of the most unique and ridiculous arsenals I've seen, on top of the fact that he's 6'5", 220 plus pounds. 4-seam fastball that sits 95 to 97 jack. Again, another dude with 19 inches of induced vertical break. Disgusting slider that is plus. Changeup that is plus. With some of the most ridiculous horizontal break. It almost is a lefty slider. That's how disgusting it is. Then he has a curveball that looks really solid and flashes plus, and even mixes in a cutter. I mean, he legitimately has a fully plus arsenal across the board. And, remembering what Mackenzie Gore looked like when he came up and we're like, oh my God, 4 potentially plus pitches. I think it didn't quite go that way with Gore. He still has been phenomenal this season. And we talked about him, and, he has the assortment of pitches. It didn't quite go to the 4+ pitches with good command that we once believed. Grayson Rodriguez could be 4+ pitches with good command. And oh, by the way, he has 6'5", 225 pounds behind him with durability.
No, I mean, this guy is obviously best possible outcome is best pitcher in baseball. His 75th percentile outcome is top 10 pitcher in baseball.
Correct.
It's dumb what this guy is capable of doing. Because you mentioned the command. When I think command of 4 or 5 pitches, I think Walker Buehler. And Buehler is as reliable an arm as we possibly see. And I think at this point, Buehler is the gold standard of young pitcher right now. And Grayson Rodriguez is not very far behind, and he has yet to make his major league debut. So G-Rod, Fangraphs had everything as like a 75.
They had him as Nolan Ryan, essentially.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, no, this is the funniest part. This is what Fangraphs had. Fastball 70, slider 70, curveball 60, changeup 70, future 80, cutter 60, command 40, future 50. We have fastball 70, slider 60, curveball 55, changeup present 70, future 80. I saw the same freak change from that they saw over at Fangraphs too. I'm a little bit higher on the command, 50 present, 55 future. I don't know why necessarily they're a little bit lower on the command. I've been really impressed. It seems like he continues to get better in that department. AAA's taking a slight hit, but that's literally a big league zone almost when you get to AAA. Yeah. Last year, though, I mean, I saw a really impressive command and ability to repeat his mechanics. And I mean, dude, this guy, he's in his worst stretch right now in the minor leagues with a 3.3 ERA in AAA.
That poor baby.
Yeah.
That poor baby. Yeah, I mean, 103 innings last year across high A and double A. The guy had 14 punch outs per nine and less than 2.5 walks per nine. So I will absolutely take 6 punch outs per every 1 walk. And this is a guy that can go out and, like, in his major league debut, if he strikes out 12, I don't think we're batting an eye.
I won't blink. So we talk about baseball cards and stuff, and how pitchers are not, cards that people really like to collect for obvious reasons. They play every 5th day, injury risk, etc. I've bought so much Grayson Rodriguez because I think I could have a chance here to buy what could be the next best pitcher in baseball. And I know people might be saying, like, okay, well, if you're saying all these things about Grayson Rodriguez, why is he not ranked higher? I kind of agree. Maybe we should have ranked him even higher. But as you see who we're going to get to, I mean, Grayson Rodriguez is literally 4. And if you look at the trio that we're going to talk about next, it was hard to justify that because I also wanted to see G-Rod pitch a little bit more at the AA and above level. Well, now we're seeing that. I mean, he's made those 6 starts in AAA and looks, again, phenomenal. We've seen dominance from him at every stop. Before we move on to the next guy, Jack, I just want to read you his minor league stats over his career. 21-8 record, which is I know no one cares about record, but you can attest in the minor leagues.
I kind of give a shit.
In the minor leagues, there's nothing more commonplace than blown leads late in ball games because they're just throwing any different reliever out there.
Another thing, as a starting pitcher, having 21 wins in the minor leagues is impressive because not many starting pitchers are allowed to go 5+.
No, not at all. 243 in the thirds innings, 2.52 ERA, 348 strikeouts, 78 walks, 0.941 whip. This is dating all the way back to 2018 in his rookie ball days.
Yep.
That's my number 1 prospect in baseball, assuming he doesn't graduate. But this dude needs to be in the big leagues in the next 2 months. I think he's shown enough. I'd like to see a little bit more with the command. Anytime you see the walk rate jump a little bit, you want to see that kind of normalize and then bring him up. But I mean, this dude can trust his stuff. And again, the changeup, the slider's phenomenal. The changeup could be one of the best changeups in baseball. Point blank.
Yeah. No, I mean, you've got its future value at 80. That is best changeup in baseball.
Correct. What's really fun is that his battery mate, or future battery mate, is the guy that's ranked just above him on this
current list. In Norfolk.
And current battery mate right now. And Adley will be up very soon. He probably would have been on the opening day roster, right? He was slated to be on the opening day roster, but unfortunately was, dealt with. Was it bicep or tricep? Bicep?
Tricep.
Yeah. Not a big deal. He's already on the mend, already playing rehab games, and he'll be up at the big league level pretty soon. Brighter days ahead for Orioles fans. I mean, just the fact that you're going to have Adley and G-Rod, I mean, that could legitimately be a 15-win swing. Like, that legitimately could be a 15-win swing for your team. Not right away, but maybe by next year. Is that crazy to say?
No, it's not crazy to say. And my pitch to Mike Elias is bring them up together. have them debut together.
I want those guys together for 20 years. I mean, like that's the dream, right? Like a Wayno Yachty type thing. Like that's what you're hoping for. And I mean, Adley Rutschman is, if you could create a prospect in a lab, I would go Adley and Bobby Witt are 2 of the guys. I would say Adley might be closer to the creating a lab territory because he's a switch hitting catcher with a plus hit tool, with plus raw power and plus defensive ability. I look at Adley, and if it weren't for some inconsistency from, both sides of the plate, we haven't seen as much of the production from the left side as the right side. That was one of the only things that held him back a little bit. But this was a guy that we looked hard at is the number 1 prospect in baseball. Each of these 3 guys that we're going to finish up with easily could have been the number 1 prospect in baseball. Adley's age also, just the other guys are so much younger with the same proximity. But we're talking about a dude that if it all comes together, I'm going to look back and say, damn, we probably should have put him.
Yeah. I mean, if it all comes together, he's Joe Mauer.
With power. Probably a little bit less bat to ball, a little bit more power.
My only thing on Adley, I just want to go through his junior year at Oregon State. If you so allow me.
Yes.
2019, when he went first overall, 57 games, hit .411 with a 1327 OPS. I had 17 homers, 58 driven in 57 games. He walked 76 times. He struck out 38. I mean, this was the guy that was so clearly the number 1 overall pick. And if Baltimore did anything else, they would have been idiots.
So stupid. It would have been so stupid. This was one of those very it wasn't very suspenseful when we saw
No.
him get called. This is the crazy thing about Adley. He went to Oregon State initially as a kicker and baseball player, right? He was doing both. And he didn't really fully focus on baseball until that like sophomore year. Then he went to the Cape, and in the Cape really used it as an experimental opportunity. Like he was horrible in the Cape because he was going through swing adjustments. And I was reading an interview with him a couple of years back, and he was like, that was an integral part of my development. Is I went there as a younger guy in the Cape, and I didn't really care. I wasn't playing for draft status there. I was playing to just get acclimated, get better, and work on some things when it's not in the spring and we're trying to win ball games. And he worked on things, got through it, and then exploded that spring, through that fall and into the spring, and put up those numbers that you just alluded to at Oregon State. So what I love about Adley is again the bat to ball, the power combination between double and triple A last year. 285, 397, 502 slash line, 23 home runs, 50 extra base hits, 144 WRC plus, 16.6% K rate, 14.5% walk rate. Jack, that's stupid.
It's stupid.
This guy could be the best catcher in baseball. It's going to be, I really do think it's going to be between him. I love Will Smith, but the glove, I don't think is ever going to be there to be that quote unquote best catcher unless he's just ripping the cover off the ball. I think Moreno, Alvarez, and Adley, one of those three guys 5 years from now will be the best catcher in baseball.
Okay. Yeah. Don't forget about Francisco Mejia, who just swung at a pitch that hit him.
He's been a nice story though. He's been a nice story.
I do want to throw Melendez in there just because of the power.
Yes, absolutely. I'm always here to throw MJ Melendez and talk about a freak arm behind the dish too. MJ could easily be in that conversation. And the Royals, by the way, thanks for calling him up, but give him some more freaking ABs. He's been great so far. Jeez, how many bums do they need to give ABs to before they let their young guys develop?
Who are they still giving ABs to? I've kind of tuned out the Kansas City Royals. Hunter Dozier and Carlos Santana.
Hunter Dozier, to you name it, bro. And there's a few others I'm missing.
Yeah, vomit.
Yeah. Well, the next guy is getting more than enough run at the big league level and is starting to show signs of life and then some thus far. Julio Rodriguez has been one of the most unlucky guys. So initially I was not buying that narrative, right? We'd be like, oh, he's getting rung up, like disproportionately to other people on bad pitches. He's getting robbed, this and that. Honestly, dude, I started watching. I was like, this guy's just got some bad luck right now. And it's starting to even out. Yes, there was just some aggression at the plate. And, that ties into it as well. And confirmation bias is really what I thought it was initially. But I mean, the hard hit rate is elite. And before we get into J-Rod, the player and the offensive skill set, how were we all so wrong on the run tool, Jack?
Yeah, I have no idea. This guy has 10 bags. He's 10 for 11. Isn't he leading Major League Baseball in stolen bases at the moment?
Yes, I believe so. And he's 98th percentile in sprint speed, according to Baseball Savant. So what's crazy is I thought we were like stretching it because we put 55. And the most generous run tool I saw on him was 55 with a future 50. Like he's going to slow down. I really kept watching video and I was like, do I scale it back? I haven't seen him run that much in person. And I was like, oh, we'll just run with 55. I mean, this guy is one of the fastest players in baseball so far in terms of sprint speed. How did we miss that? And not only that, he's playing superb outfield so far this season. He's been really solid.
Yeah. And like that video went viral of him getting that call up in Scott Service's office when they were down in Arizona at spring training. And Scott Service said it best. He said, you look really comfortable out in center. He looks really comfortable out in center. And I think the big question for Seattle was who's going to be the center fielder because J-Rod's going to be in right. Is it going to be Kelenic? But Kelenick's not that good out there. It's going to be Julio Rodriguez.
3 outs above average already this year.
J-Rod's going to be the center fielder for the next decade.
And again, it's because we underestimated the speed. The jumps have been fine, and whether you look at Savant's metric for that, or I literally was watching, how you can use the research tool and go in the center field video. And so I was just watching, just clicking like play and then pause right at contact. His jumps are good, but the closing speed is what we underestimated. And the reads are what we underestimated. Both of those have been good. The reads will continue to get better. But these are the complementary aspects of Julio's game. Like, let's talk about the freaking bat, dude. Like, this is a dude that has put up some of the most ridiculous minor league career stat lines that we've seen. And this is something I resurfaced a lot, but I loved to compare his numbers to Wander Franco's through his minor league career, they're almost identical. The only difference would be, of course, a little bit more swing and miss from Julio, but it's not like he's striking out a lot, and he was giving you more power than Wander. But if you looked at the slash lines, same amount of games, nearly same levels, identical to Wander Franco through their minor league careers. This guy has a chance to be a superstar.
And what's the word? Revolutionary?
Oh, yeah. Swing is revolutionary.
J-Rod, I mean, this guy, he's putting the ball on the ground all the time right now. That needs to change, because when this guy starts lifting, the ball's going to leave the yard. 1 homer in 31 games. The ball's going to leave the yard a lot more than that. Where do you see the power profiling? 25? 25.
Yeah, I see 20, because at the same time, we've seen him get a lot of hits through choppers into the ground. And he's someone that's always been a higher, above average ground ball rate dude, because he just hits hard line drives. I think he'd probably consider himself a line drive hitter. I want to see him lift the ball a bit more. Obviously, it's up way too high right now. And, you know, we want to see 25 home runs. I think he's 25 to 30, but he's going to hit 300 plus. Like, that's the difference. I think we're going to see the strikeout rate drop astronomically, and we're going to see a high batting average.
And all of a sudden, he's 30 bags.
Yes, correct.
That came out of nowhere.
Nowhere. And legit center field ability.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this guy. And I like, even though he is technically not off to the hottest of starts, if you look at WRC plus, technically 2% above average, which is crazy given that he's been off to a slow start. The fact that the complementary skills are better than we thought is scary, because offensively, I don't think anybody has questions. We knew there'd be a little bit of that, you know, getting used to the big league level. He's 21. He's barely played above high A, 46 games above high A in his career, and he's already adjusting to the big league level. This guy, what do you think? MVPs? Could this guy win multiple MVPs? Is that crazy to say?
No, I mean, that's why he's the number 2 prospect in baseball. And that's what everybody's dreaming on with Julio. I think best case scenario, he wins multiple MVPs. I think 50th percentile outcome, he's a multi-time all-star.
And so far in May, if you just want a little bit of like an idea of what he's been doing through May, 23% K rate, 341, 372, 488. So 860 OPS, 163 WRC plus. He might have arrived already, man.
Yep.
I mean, that's really exciting. Really exciting for the Mariners, who, you know, I think have been a little bit up and down this year, but I think as Julio heats up, hopefully Kelnick can heat up. That team's going to be really fun. And they already are fun, but they're going to be a threat. If it's not by the end of this year, next year will be the year where it'll really start to happen for them.
Yeah, and I'm starting to worry a little bit about Kelnick.
I absolutely am.
Yeah, no, I'm worried about Kelnick, but I'm as excited as you are about J-Rod.
Another guy that maybe not as dramatically turning it around or dramatically taking it to the next level, but has started to show signs of life as well in the month of May. And our number 1 overall prospect is Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby Witt Jr., another dude with some zone swing and miss. That's always going to be the case. And that's why I said from the get-go, if you go back and listen to old episodes, said this guy is our number 1 prospect. He's not going to win Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. He's going to start a little bit slow, but don't worry. When it's all said and done, he could end up being, you know, that 5-tool shortstop that's one of the best players in baseball. None of that's changed for me. And I don't think any of that has changed for anybody. We've seen flashes of Bobby Witt already, especially on the defensive side of things. That's where I'm just so amazed at how good he is defensively. The power is fantastic. The speed is legit. He's going to be just fine. But so far this season, Jack, it, you know, hasn't been the best start ever.
So you've got a 60 grade on his run tool. He's the fastest guy in Major League Baseball in terms of sprint speed. So there's the athleticism there. Yeah, I mean, the hit tool, like, I'm not necessarily worried about raw power. You've got 65-70, game power, you got 55-65. I think that's where Bobby Witt's going to be. And Bobby Witt last year, was he 30-30? He was the only 30-30 guy in minor league baseball. Is that right? 33-29.
There we go. Remember, too, he did have 1 home run taken away from him, too. Do you remember that? They said he didn't touch home plate. Yeah. So he really had 34 homers.
That's right. But he had 97 driven in. He was 29 for 40 in swiped bags. He struck out a decent bit. He's always going to strike out a decent bit. He's always going to strike out a little bit. I mean, this guy, like, what he provides in terms of just human peak performance is the best on this list. I'm with you. I mean, I think 5-tool gets thrown out around a little bit. He's 5 tool.
He is the picture of 5 tool, right? Like this is the 5 tool guy. He's going to be 30-30 multiple times in his career, assuming, everything goes the way we expect. I don't even think that's bold to say. He's still going to hit 280 plus because of his speed once he gets going. Yes, he's going to strike out a little bit, but Mike Trout strikes out a little bit.
Yeah.
Like Mike Trout is striking out 23% of the time this year. Mike Trout struck out 22% of the time in his career. You can be extremely productive when you have all those tools, you have the quality of contact, and you have the defensive ability that Bobby Witt has. What's interesting, though, is as we look at, the situation in Kansas City, are they going to play him at third for the foreseeable? Like, are they really going to do that?
I don't know.
I hope not.
I hope not too.
I know Nicky Lopez is like this wizard, but I mean, dude, I want to see Bobby Witt at shortstop. We got a taste of it too when they had the shift going on, and he was playing shortstop by himself on the left side of the infield all alone, and he made that insane play. The arm is crazy. He is also that lab generated player. The only thing that would be missing is a little bit more bat to ball, but he's in that conversation too of guys that you could just say this guy was created in a lab.
Here's the thing. He's probably got a lower floor than J-Rod, just because of that swing and miss.
Yeah.
He's got a higher ceiling than Julio Rodriguez, and it's really fucking hard to have a higher ceiling than Julio Rodriguez.
Well, when you're Gold Glove caliber defensively at shortstop, you have a 30-30 potential. You're fast as shit. And, you also are just have that gamer in you. It's hard to imagine that he has a lower ceiling than anybody. I need to see him walk, though. You'll make your life so much easier, Bobby. What if you walk a little bit more? 9% walk rate through double and triple. Even if you could get it to 9% at the big league level, I think that changes a lot. Right now, I think he's only walked like 3 times this year. That's something I would love to see. So stop taking a page out of Salvi Perez's book, take a little bit more out of Carlos Santana. Never thought I'd say that, and walk a little bit more. That's probably my only missing piece with him, because, Trout, that's what he does, right? He's going to walk 10, 11, 12, 13%. That's going to offset some of that zone swing and miss. And then you're going to run into baseballs. That's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, Bobby, our advice for you when you're at the cage, hang around Carlos Santana and see what he does.
Yes. Watch the way he just takes any borderline pitch from the machine.
But when he starts swinging, stop watching.
Stop. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. But no, so this is our number 1 prospect in baseball. Jack, he's still 21.
I know.
21 years old. So this year for me was a year where the Royals look at it and they're like, we're probably not competing this year. Let's just let it ride. Let's see how it goes and let him get his experience. I'm expecting him next year, dude, to light the world on fire. And I think he'll start to do it by the second half of this year.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think this guy, I had that bold take where I was like, I think he's going to win AL Rookie of the Year, and I think it's going to not particularly be close. Now I'm starting to understand what you were saying. Like, he needed some time to get used to the big league level, but I think once June rolls around, once July rolls around, I mean, we're going to be going on Twitter every night, and it's going to be, Bobby Witt's at it again.
And I can't wait. Hopefully MJ Melendez will be in that lineup as well. But Jack, we just went through 100 freaking players. This was probably a longer episode, obviously, because we were going to go through the top 10 and they deserve a little bit more time. But sir, we just went through 100, our entire top 100 list, which again, you can follow along. Links in the description at justbaseball.com to go check out the whole top 100 list. But dude, we just went through a full top 100.
Yeah, that was a lot. But you know what? It was a blast because that's what we love doing, right? And you fucking grinded on this shit. You not
hard enough. Gabriel Moreno did not make 2.5 million.
You wrote the Odyssey. It's okay to say that somebody made 2.5 million on the Odyssey, but now we can go change it. That's the beauty of the edit tool.
He got his bag from one of those like big league advance adjacents, though. I think so.
Okay, perfect.
He's doing all right. He's doing all right.
There we go.
And deserves it, and good investment too. Yeah, that'll do it for this episode. That'll do it for the top 100 rundown. We'll have a prospect interview next week. We'll have more discussion on just the minor leagues as a whole. I'm excited. I loved going through the top 100, but I'm very excited to start talking about what's going on now across the minors, because a lot of names that we want to get into, talk about that you're seeing every day, in AAA, guys that I'm watching, every day from the low A to double A levels that have really started to force their way into that next top 100 list. And, that's what we're already going to start talking about now is, these guys, as they're making their case, as they're performing, as guys continue to emerge, we'll be breaking it down every single week and keeping you briefed on what's going on in the minor leagues.
Yeah. Your mean Mercedes is swinging at everything right now.
He hits everything though,
but he's swinging at everything right now.
Top 100 update.
Your mean 80.
I love your mean though. Hopefully he figures it out, but that'll do it for this episode. Jack, any final thoughts on what we got going on in Indy?
Not right now. Indy's in Charlotte at the moment, and they come back and see Toledo. Hopefully we're seeing Riley Greene. I'm going to go take a nap because we just went through 100 prospects. You should go take a nap too.
I have a Royce Lewis piece to put out on justbaseball.com. Then I might take a little cat nap because Perfect. I am really excited about this Royce Lewis piece. So check that out. It should be live by the time you're listening to this. As always, thank you for listening. If you could take a moment to leave a rating and help us grow this show, I would appreciate it immensely. If you're on YouTube, feel free to subscribe. We are going to continue to uptick the video quality and video content. Look forward to talking prospects with you on Monday.